Good morning and welcome to a rather damp, wet Djuma Game Reserve. We have a lot of rain falling and has been falling throughout the course of the evening, so it should be an entertaining drive, that's for sure. I think we've lucked out, Viam and I, and have gotten ourselves into the tent. My name is Tristan. On camera, as I just mentioned, is Viam the Wildebeest, who is back in the tent, and I'm hopefully going to enjoy our time here, and hopefully there'll be lots of interesting things to show all of you. It is going to be very wet out there, and it's going to be difficult for Taylor and Brent, who are also going to be out as well. The good news is, though, that it seems as though it's easing up a little bit. We've had a lot of rainfall in the last sort of hour and a half, but it seems like it maybe just eased up a little bit now, even though it is still raining. Now, you must excuse my umbrella. Vim lent this to me so that I could sit here. It's a bit dilapidated, but it's okay. We'll still be able to at least keep the rain off us. Good. Now, while we try and get ourselves sorted out in the tent and think about what we're going to do, which maybe all of you can help us with, you can do that hashtag Safari Live or the YouTube chat. If you want to discuss anything in the tent, let us know, and we'll try and get into it. And also, if you want any questions answered. Good. Now, like I say, we're going to get ourselves comfortable. In the meantime, let's send you over to Brent Smith and find out how his lodge experience was last night and what his plans are for the morning.
Well, good morning from a wet and windswept Chitwa Dam. Our lodge experience last night was fantastic. And it's very seldom you get to eat your dinner while listening to Hasana crunch the bones of a bushbuck a mere 30 meters away. My name is Brent Smith. I have Craig, aka Batman, on camera, and we are at Chitwa Dam. So we got to see Hasana last night, and not only did we see Hasana eating his bushbuck right next to the spa, when we left our room this morning, Hasana left us a very big present on the path, and I had to warn Craig, don't stand in Hasana's present. So he left a very big pile of dung or scat in between our room and the main area. So he's finished that bushbuck. So I was hoping he was going to be kind and be lying on the damn wall, but not. We've just got some hippos. Still, not all the hippos, I think, are back from their nocturnal wanderings yet, this rainy, cool weather. And we'll definitely keep them out, or some of them out, a little bit longer. Now, this is very good soaking rain, very good for the bush, not so good for a game drive. And it's getting harder again, so we're not going to be able to move. And we've got both sides down, so we're very limited into what we can see. We can only see out the front. But I wonder if it's raining as hard where Madam McCurdy is.
Hello, Brent. Good morning. Oh, that's very uncomfortable. Sorry, I've just realized I have a bungee cord that is restricting me from all my movements. My name is Taylor, and on camera with me today is Sebastian. And he has also now made a plan with a bungee cord. Thank you, Seb. I can't, and I love to talk with my arms. Ah, yes. Now, bungee cords are dangerous because you remember it almost knocked dear James out. That would have been tragic. He was left with a scar. I think he's put some scar tissue oil on. I doubt he'd want to have a scar on his face. So, as Brent said, it's pouring with rain. We actually couldn't go out initially. It was raining too hard, in fact. And now it has let up ever so slightly. It looks like the clouds are lifting, but there's a couple of low-lying clouds passing over. So I suspect it's going to be like this for the entire day. Now, as you can imagine, we have our rain roof on. What a surprise. And through all of this rain, I did not hear the apparent lion roars and buffaloes distressing. This is what I hear from the people that live on this side of camp, not the people. Liam is the person I'm talking about. So they said it sounded like lions were killing buffalo around Gallagher. So that's what we're going to do. I should probably look for the animals then. Heads. Did you see one already? Yeah. No, not yet, Seb?
Lots of water.
Lots of water, that's correct. Where are the frogs? Where are the fighting bullfrogs this morning? If I don't see some of those in the next day or two, I'm going to be very upset. I'm going back to Kenya. And So we're going to have a quick scratch around here. I did see some buffalo dung, but to be honest, I mean, it could be from any time. There's no tracks or anything on the just yet. So we keep having a little look around here. Maybe we get lucky. Perhaps I'll have to have a listen to see if I can hear lions scrapping over their beefy treat this morning, if that is the case. Or if you go to Tristan in the tent, he's got something special he'd like to announce.
Well, we would. We have something that is exciting and at least a ray of sunshine and a glimmer in the dark, dreary rain that we are having this morning. As all of you know, we do have a very, very special leopard that we get in this part of the world. Her name is Tandi, and she has a little cub at the moment, and this little cub has entertained all of us over the past 5 months. We've had some amazing sightings of her running around and jumping and doing all kinds of other things. And so hopefully we will announce exactly which name has been given to her. But before we do all of that, for those of you that are not sure who Tandi is or what the little cub has been up to, here we've got a little highlight to show you from what we've been seeing over the past 5 months.
Tandi is an 11-year-old leopardess, and she is, as her name suggests, beloved. Tandi has taken over her late mother's domain by chasing away her sibling rivals. Having had 4 litters, she is a protective mother, once luring a huge baboon away from her cubs. Having survived the baboons, 17-month-old Tamba continues to live in the African bush. Tandi recently mated again with the Prince of Djuma, Tingana, and has since given birth to new little cubs. Soon, they will emerge from the den and introduce themselves to the Safari Live family.
Well, isn't that the cutest little bundle of joy? And Tandi is such a fantastic mother, and already she's proved to be a seriously intuitive individual. With Hukumuri being in, she's allowed this little cub extra time by taking it a little further away, which is very, very cool. Now, we all asked you to decide on a name for that little cub as it starts to grow and starts to develop and starts to kind of become a bigger personality within the area. And we gave you 3 choices, and we asked you to please vote for it. And I can happily announce that you have all voted and that you have decided on a name. So Tlalalamba is the name. It's a bit of a mouthful, and it's going to take a while, I think, for some of us to probably get it down. And it's a very cool name. I like it very much, and I think it's going to be a good one going forward. So the 2 T's is what we'll probably have to call them for short, as Tandi and Little One move around throughout this area. It's a very cool thing to have, and hopefully she'll continue to be able to keep this little cub safe by keeping it moving and keeping it away from Hukumuri. It probably means that we're not going to be seeing nearly as much of that little cub as we did in the first few months, given that it was right on our doorstep. But if Tandi is going to keep it safe and that allows it to grow up, well, then that's okay by us. And if we just see her every now and then, that will be also very, very cool. So it's a very nice thing, and well done to all of you that did give that name, and I hope that you will all enjoy it. Good. Now we're going to try and find some things to do in the tent. We're going to look around, see if there's any insects after a bit of rain. There's sometimes insects come out, and while we do that, let's send you back over to Brent Leo Smith, who's hunkered down at Chitwa Dam, and hopefully little Hosanna will make an appearance.
Well, I'm hoping, but I haven't heard any alarm calls, so I'm literally inching forward. If I go any faster, the rain is going to completely drench us inside our tent car. But we are going to keep moving slowly. I think I'm almost considering joining Tristan in the tent at this rate, because apparently it's coming down even worse on Djuma, and that means it's coming our way shortly. But I see my favorite name was chosen, Tlalalamba. So well done everyone who voted for Tlalalamba. And oh, that went straight down my neck. Sorry, that was cold. Justin would like to know, do I know how much rain has fallen so far? Not yet, Justin, not yet. But I'm guessing probably around 15 mils. It's good rain though, because it's soaking rain. What was that? Oh dear, I can't even see out of my binoculars. Good thing they're waterproof, my binos. And I've spotted something in the distance there. I just saw a flash of white on that termite mound over there, Craig. Oh, my binos are missed it. I just saw it's an Egyptian goose. I just saw a flash of white. So I was hoping it was the tip of a leopard's tail. But while we inch forward, I think today is a good day for story time. Although, preferably story time would be around a roaring fire. I've got some guinea fowl making a noise. Let's see if I can see them. There they are. They just, no, they look like they're just full of the joy of a wet morning. They don't look too impressed with this weather. Shame. Now, as I say, it was time for story time, and I'm trying to think, do I know any stories about guinea fowl? Oh dear, I'm drawing a blank about guinea fowl. But I know some stories about leopards. And since yesterday on the sunset safari, I saw three different scrub hares, Taylor saw a scrub hare, and I think we will tell the story of why the leopards hate the scrub hare. It's an Indabele story, so the Indabele people are an offshoot of the Zulu people. So under the reign of King Shaka, who was the most famous and of the Zulu kings, who spread the Zulu nation far and wide compared to what it was before, one of his generals, whose name was Mzilikazi, decided he didn't like the way Shaka did things, so him and 30,000, his regiment of warriors, I can't remember if it was 30 or 50, anyway, a lot of warriors, fled Zululand and moved north, and they settled around modern-day Pretoria till the Dutch, or the Boers, pushed them out even further. Just keep a lookout, and then they moved and settled in what is now eastern Zimbabwe, in what is called Matabele land. Now, this is a story from them. And it goes, the leopard had 3 wonderful, beautiful cubs, but there was a massive drought, and she had to travel very far to find food. But she used to keep a babysitter in that of the scrub hare, and she was really, really struggling to find food for her cubs. She would be gone days at a time without finding food, and eventually, after about 3 weeks, Funtwa, the scrub hare, got really hungry, so he killed one of her cubs and he ate it, and then he took the skin and the bones and he spread them all over the place and put blood all over himself. And when the mother leopard got back, he said, "We were attacked by a hyena, and the hyena killed and ate your cub. I tried my best, but it injured me." The mother leopard roared and screamed and thrashed and broke down bushes. She was so angry. But she had to go out again to try to find more food for the cubs. Off she went. And again the same scenario happened. And it happened again till there was she had no cubs left. And eventually, if I remember correctly, it was the baboon who said, "I think you should look very carefully at your babysitter. Why is he fat when everyone else is skinny?" And eventually she worked 2 and 2 together and chased after the scrub hare. And that is now why the scrub hare is such a nervous animal and is always on the run whenever it sees a leopard or anything else that might give it a fright. Oh, here it comes. It's definitely got a lot harder all of a sudden. Okay, while the guinea fowl run off, jog off, Taylor's got something that's not doing any jogging at all.
It may have been doing its final sprints in the late hours of last night, but yes, you're quite right, Brent. It's not doing any jogging anymore. That, my friends, is a hoof of a buffalo. So, VM, your ears, oh, they're so finely tuned to the sounds of the bush, considering you've just come back to work. So, we did have a brief sighting of, I've got my tea now, of course, this is my standard thing. Oh, it's swilted everywhere now. Oops, my bad. Luckily, it's on the waterproof rain covers. So we did get a glimpse of one of the evoker, better say it correctly, otherwise Brent will whip me. One of the male lions, but unfortunately it's the skittish one. So I've actually only seen 2 of them in Buffelshoek, and the 2 that I saw were completely relaxed. They walked right past the car. This fella, the blonde one, he does not like a car so much. So he picked up his carcass and walked away with it into the bushes, and I have absolutely no idea where he's gone. I also don't want to chase him around. If the vegetation's quite thick, he's showed that he's uncomfortable with the vehicles, there is no need for us to push him around. We'll let him carry on, and eventually he'll settle down with the cars. So what we are going to try and do is I'm going to try not to spill anymore. I'm going to drink my tea. If I need to cool it down, you see also, because it is a bit hot and I don't want to burn my mouth. Well, that should be good. Much better. Now I'm not going to burn my tongue and lose my taste buds. So we'll just drive very carefully. Actually, if you look on the road, Seb, you see all those beautiful lion feet print. Look how lovely they are. So they are the big feet of the evoker male lions. And I don't think it's just the one here. I'm almost certain that all 3 will be about. They seem to be inseparable. Now it's just a matter of where have they gone, because we're basically by Galago Pan now, because I know all of you are always interested as to our exact locations, and this is an area filled with drainage systems. Now, they're not easy to navigate on the sunniest of days and the driest terrain. It's going to be fun. And we have a roof on, so I don't know how much navigating we're actually going to be able to do. No wonder where they killed it. Must be that same herd of buffalo that Tristan had. That big group that's been passing through the northern Sabi sand at the moment. Told you. Both Tristan and I told you yesterday. As soon as the lions, the buffalo come back onto the property, so will the lions. It's their favorite thing to eat. Out here in the Sabi sand of South Africa. I don't know where the other boys have gone. They could also have just decided now that they've got full bellies, they're going to tuck themselves, you know, behind a tree, underneath the tree. That's what I would do. They've had breakfast. They've had their, well, they didn't have bacon. They had minute steaks. Look like a sub-adult buffalo, not a fully grown one. But maybe not a calf either. So this boy was running around here. It's just a matter of time, I suppose, before we find the others. I'm going to keep staring into the bushes and hope that somebody will move and reveal themselves to us. Off you go to Tristan, who's pondering about the drops that are dripping off his tent.
I am indeed. It is streaming rain that is falling, and I'm glad that we are sitting very comfortably and very cozy in this little tent, and I wouldn't be surprised should one of them arrive, well, Taylor or Brent is what I'm talking about, arrive in the tent itself. Now, Juliana, the rain is normal for this time of the year. It is sometimes we get this kind of late rain that comes down, normally around this sort of period, late March, early April, we get this last kind of downpour that comes, and it's very welcome. We needed this rain, otherwise we were going to be in dire straits. And so even though it has also seemed like it's rained a lot, we actually haven't had that much over the course of the last 3 days. I was just getting the rainfall figures now from the guys that check all the rain gauges on the various points of the reserve, and they were telling me that we've had about 19 millimeters of rain. So it's not that much, but very, very welcome. And if it continues like this throughout the day, we could easily get way up over 50, 60, and even up towards 100, which would be absolutely perfect in terms of just filling up all of our dams and trying to make sure that we have water throughout the winter period. So it's going to be very, very good. Now, I'm very impressed with VM's ears and the way that he picked it up, and that he managed to find, well, hear those buffalo and lions over the pouring rain last night. And we knew that they were going to be around. With buffalo hanging around and those males so close, it was only a matter of time until they came down. The interesting thing about it is that they are making a massive, massive, massive stamp in this area as to this being theirs. If they are killing buffalo and there's audio and they're roaring, and we're not having a situation where the Birminghams are responding, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how this plays out. And I think we're going to have a tough time with our females. And I know, Michael, you were wondering about what is this going to mean in terms of our lions and our leopards with all these new males around. Well, it's going to mean a lot of problems that we are going to have. We're going to have a situation where we're going to have females with cubs that are now pretty much on the run. They're going to have to try and maneuver their cubs around these boys to try and kind of keep them safe, and they can only do that for so long. And so what we need is a situation with the lions, particularly as the Birminghams, to come back and just to push these guys further north for a while until the sub-adults, particularly in the Nkuhuma pride, are at of an age where they're able to probably mate and will then be left alone. The young male from the Nkuhuma pride is in major, major trouble now, because he's on his own, and he's now got not only the Birminghams that will eventually chase him if they do stay here, but he's got these 3 males that will undoubtedly either try and chase him away or kill him. So he's got a really tough time on his hands, and then obviously the small cub is in probably the most danger of all of them. So from a lion perspective, it's really not good news that these 3 are here. They're pretty boys and they're nice to see, but it's not good that they are staying and that they are sitting and that there's no response from the Birminghams at the moment, because it's going to unsettle this entire area. If anybody remembers when the Birminghams first came in, how the Nkuhuma pride, the Styx pride, all of them lost a number of individuals through that takeover. It's unfortunately how it works. These males will kill the sub-adults, the cubs, and sometimes even females get in the way of all of that, and they end up getting killed as well. We know with the Styx it happened, and with the Nkuhumas, actually, them trying to defend their cubs, that they sometimes get females get killed as well. So it's a very, very bad time for the lions here, and it's such a poor timing in a way that both these prides were just starting to build and just starting to kind of get to the point where they were recovering in numbers and everything was starting to settle down. So hopefully we're going to see the Birminghams come back, because as we know, Gallagher is right here, and so these lions are really pushing deeper and deeper and further south as they go. Now, talking about those lions, Taylor is still looking for them. I'm pretty sure they must be lying somewhere under some thickets, just trying to avoid the rain, with massive tummies and paws in the air, and so we'll have to wish Taylor some good luck as she tries to find them just north of where we are.
I don't know how optimistic I'm feeling this morning, because the area that they seem to be laying in, it's so thick. So thick. We're just doing a little loopy-loop here. Now, Elizabeth, a question that's a little bit hard to answer because I didn't actually see it, but you've asked about the size of the buffalo killed. I don't know. I looked at the hoof. It looked like a sub-adult buffalo, but I didn't see it. I saw the one male picked up the skin and walked away with it, so I assume it wasn't the entire skin, it would have just been part of it. So it's very hard to tell. The fact that there's barely any remains left suggests that it was a smaller buffalo, as 3 male lions have basically completely devoured it. I don't think it was a baby, like I said. I think it was slightly bigger than that, maybe a year or 2 old. But now to try and find them again, I don't know. You see, I'm reluctant to go into where that where the skittish one is, because I'm just going to annoy him and chase him around. He's shown me that he's petrified of the cars. And if it was an open area, it would be a completely different situation, because I could sit from afar and we could watch him. But now I'm trying to find him again, and I know what's going to happen is I'm going to drive on in there, and I'm probably going to drive on top of him because the bushes are so thick, and he's going to get up and he's going to run again for a 3rd time, which I don't want to do. That's something we must remember, is we must never push the animals for our entertainment. That's the most important thing. Now, Weedy, as we were just chatting about the Birminghams, and Tristan was saying that he hopes that they do return, you've now stated something that I've completely forgot. It just slipped my mind because I was thinking about where I'm going to go and look for these lions. Do I think that they've abandoned the pride? No, I don't necessarily think so. I don't think that that's the case at all. I think they've just got excited and they've gone for a little bit of a walkabout and found some more lions and they went, woo, hello. But what they must remember is that their coalition is not big enough, sadly, to accommodate all the lionesses of the Sabi sand. They must choose who they want. And those Avoca males will be in trouble. If all 4 Birminghams get the slightest inkling that something's going on up here, they're probably going to turn around and come straight back up north. And if they do that and all 4 are out, these youngsters are going to get a hiding. Because those Birminghams are not small lions. They've got experience now. Like I said, they're not old. They're in the prime of their life. So they're going to have to watch out. If 2 of the Birminghams just come back, so say Nena and Tinyo, who are often seen together, or Nsuku and Nena come back up here, they're going to give those boys a run for their money. But of course there's a 3rd lion. And again, I think experience on your side, with fighting and things like that, and also they're going to be much bigger than them. They might have a chance to make them turn away and go back home. But it's hard to say. I've been out of the loop for so long. It'll be interesting to actually go down to Sabi and those places and see what's honestly going on and how those lions are behaving. What are they doing with the Southern Pride? I haven't actually seen much at all. But Tristan probably knows a bit more, being in the sand for so long and watching everything that's been going on, all the stories that are unfolding. So maybe he can indulge in that a little bit more. See, they could just be in one of these drainage lines, and that's where I would be if I was a lion. And because there's all tamboti trees around, it's like a thicket. Actually, it's more like a tamboti forest. There's so many densely lined against the drainage lines. It's going to be difficult for us to get in here with a roof. I don't know where they are. No. Oh, you see, I just don't know how we're going to get in here and drive around with this roof on. It's impossible. Maybe we're just going to have to hope that someone steps out into the road. They don't seem to mind the rain too much. Sebastian was telling me that, in fact, they were walking down the road looking gorgeous with their drenched manes and hair the other night with Tristan. And Yvette, you've just actually commented on that. Do big cats like little cats not like the rain? The answer to that is no. They might not like to put their feet in the rivers and cross them, but they will if they need to. Obviously, they don't really have to cross any rivers. They're fine, unless they're going down past the sand in the Sabi River. Otherwise, there's no need to. So they don't mind the rain at all. They're pretty tough and resilient, something like that. It doesn't really bother them at all. If it's a torrential downpour, like you and I, it's pretty annoying. It gets in your eyes. Can't see very well, so then they might seek shelter, and I think that's what they're doing now. As to Seb, is that they've got their bellies nice and full. There's no need for them to walk around anymore. They've had their breakfast. They can just tuck themselves under their duvets and have a rest for the rest of the morning. That's what I would do. Anyways, Brent is on his way back to Djuma, trying to escape the rain. Brent, don't be too hasty because it's starting to pour down the side too.
Yes, it seems to be pouring down everywhere, and I wouldn't say we're being hasty at all. Craig has decided that the correct speed not to get the equipment wet is first gear. No foot on accelerator, idle. So we're not going anywhere hastily. And, well, I think old Hassan is probably not too unpleased with this weather. He's just finished off a whole bushbuck, so he would have been very hot digesting all that meat, so I'm sure... We think he's somewhere around Chitwa, maybe still in the lodge. It's very difficult to see tracks in this weather. But we did see his present he left us. Now, let me tell you a bit more about our evening last night. It was very, very wonderful. I must admit, Chitwa's got one of the nicest decks and bars that I've seen. And I've been to a lot of safari lodges in my life. And... we ended up having dinner with 2 Safari Live fans who were actually at Chitwa and on this safari because of watching Safari Live. They started watching just after Hosanna was born, so just under 2 years ago. So they were very excited to have Hosanna in camp. and it was a lovely dinner. Craig even managed to say more than 6 words, didn't you, Craigie? About 7. There we go. Craig managed to say about 7 words, and we had the duck. Now there's an old British, I think it's a British joke. Is it a British joke? I can't remember. Actually, I need to think about this joke a little bit more before I tell it. Let me just try to remember. No, I can't remember the joke properly. Anyway, so we had duck for dinner last night. It was excellent. And we had dessert was very, very good. We had a traditional South African dessert called Malva pudding, which is basically honey-soaked sponge cake. And this time we had it with homemade ice cream. Wow. Oh, we had soup for starter because it was cold. Oh dear, here it comes. I can hear some stream frogs. Yes. Shelley. Shelley wants to know, do I think I'll get stuck in the mud? Very unlikely, Shelley. And not really here, especially in most of the Sabi sands. You're on granite-based sand soils, so not too much thick mud about. But you must be very careful. There's a lot of areas that we won't drive at all at the moment because they are closed. So seep lines, which are incredible. Oh, okay, I'm gonna have to stop. It's getting too hard. Let me just do that. Try and keep the rain away. It's getting too hard to move. Drip, go away. So, what was I talking about, Craig? I can't remember. But while I try to remember what I was talking about. Seep lines. Thank you, Rebecca. Now, I'll try to find you a nice seep line when the rain abates a little bit. So a seep line is a very, very, very important part of the ecosystem in this type of bushveld. So where you've got your thick combretum crests that we deal with most of this up here, especially on the left there, are coming down through those thick combretum areas are areas where you find terminalia trees, silver cluster leaves, and generally it's a little bit more open. And being more open, there's a lot more grass, so they're very important grazing areas for a lot of the wildebeest, the zebra, the elephant, the impala, and they lie on what we call duplex soils, so 2-layered soils. So what happens on the seep line, you've got a very shallow layer of the sand, which acts, go away, which a duplex soil, which acts as a filter as the rain comes and the water drips through. Then you hit a hard clay layer, and it's on a seep, on a slope, not on a seep. It is a seep, and what then happens is that water stays. It doesn't permeate through through that thick clay layer. So you get a very wet, waterlogged area, and what that does is, because it's so wet, only certain tree species can grow there, so you don't get as many trees, but you get very high quality grasses, Thamida, panicum, and very high quality grasses that attract a lot of animals. So if it's wet like this and you drive on that seep line, what happens is you can actually break through that small sand layer into that clay layer, and you compact that clay and make a little dam, basically. So the water is unable to flow all the way down the hill, and it is unable to reach the final destination. So those seep lines feed the little river systems, the little pans, mud wallows. So that's why you've got to be very, very careful when it's raining like this, and never ever drive on a seep line. Wow. Wow. This is not good at the moment. Craig, how are we doing back there? Any leaks? No major leaks yet, just one on Craig's arm. And you can see it's coming down now. You can even see the road is starting to flow quickly. It was flowing slowly earlier. Well, we're not the only things that are getting drenched out here, so let's go see what wet animal Taylor's found.
Well, I don't know if you're talking about the soggy rat sitting in the front seat or the impala that we've got in front of us. They look miserable. It's because they don't have a cup of rooibos tea to keep them warm like I do. Anyway, so these impala are drenched, as you can see, and it is bucketing down now. It's almost torrential rain. We're getting there. If it comes down any harder, we may have to start packing sandbags. Tristan, hope you're ready for them squats. Again, no, 2.0 like last year, where they did a video of Tristan and I basically just filling sandbags while everybody else watched and directed. It was very clever of everyone. Perhaps Tristan can reenact that for you in a little bit. Anyways, they're trying to, I think they've actually just given up, these impala. There's a couple that have hidden themselves underneath some shrubs, which is where I would probably be. Can you actually see one that's tucked away? Just to look how funny this is. I hope, yeah, we've got it. There we go. Look at that. That would be me if I was an impala. That's the one that I'd be in there. Just going, I hate my life. No, I'm just joking. I'm glad I'm not an impala today. Shame, Gailey. I'm very sorry that you're getting your hair wet. Perhaps she's going to a function of some sort, so now, well, her day is ruined. Typical. And you can see, look how they've almost clenched themselves up. Look how all their muscles are contracting. They're freezing. Desperately trying to keep warm. Now, it is hard for these little ones, especially with a constant temperature changing. And Kristen, you've asked if it was cold, if it's hard for the animals to stay warm. It definitely is. And it's why we see so many young animals dying of cold shock. So when the temperature changes quite severely over a short period of time, a lot of the times these animals don't really know how to cope with it, and then they end up sadly dying. And on days like today, in fact, we've had hot weather, and now we've got pouring rain, freezing cold. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do see a couple of impala lambs that sadly haven't made it. Oh, I can hear frogs though. Can you hear that? No, now they've stopped. And also the rain is pretty loud. It sounds like the bushveld rain frogs that were starting to chirp, so that's going to be quite exciting. I don't know if we're going to be able to stay out here much longer, just because, well, I'm completely drenched, but that's fine. That's not a problem. I'll get out. Wait, let me move away from the impala. Let me show you how wet I am. I don't want to frighten these fellas. I feel like some of them are very... Oh, no, I'm watering my tea down again. Excuse me while I sip on it. I can't tell you how it's warming my soul at the moment. It's so good. But hot though. And then also if I get thirsty because I didn't take water, I'll just, and then, you know, like, that was so nice. Okay, let me show you now. I'm not going to terrify the impala. Right. Out you get. I may have to take my shoes off and empty the fish out that are now in it. These pants were a light colour. Let's hope there's no lions here. This one is it's not too bad, hey? It's actually this job is doing its this jacket is doing its job well. I think if I had to take my shoes off, I'd pour water out. So yes, we're all a little bit on the damp side. My hair is very upset with this weather. It's not working. It's going to be a bird's nest. I'm going to make Rebecca brush it later because she's the one that sent me out in this weather. Good luck. That's all I'm saying. Good luck. Okay, let's see what else we can find. I'm really hoping for a bushveld rain frog. We're going to check the roads. Rebecca says she's not going to be gentle with the knots in my hair. It's fun. My mother used to just brush, and then if I dare said anything, if I dare mumbled a ow, or, you know, one of those sounds, I'd almost get a whack with a hairbrush to sit still. No, she didn't do that to me. I'm just joking. Right, look at this. It's a lake. Seb, lift your feet. Whee! Because I'm a child. Should we do it again, Seb?
Yes.
Okay, you ready? Where's the next? Should we turn around? Okay, we're going to turn around and go through that puddle again because it was so much fun. Seeing as though there's no animals, it'll just entertain you otherwise. I think it's going to splash the most on this side now. Because when we went through the first time, are you ready? Just because I can't see animals, I'm going to have fun now. You're one. We're going. We're in. Woo! That is how we entertain ourselves when it's pouring with rain and it's miserable and the sun is not going to shine. That is how you have fun, everyone. We are going to go around and do it one more time. Seb is, of course, wiping the lens now. So while I have fun going up and down this road looking for bushveld rain frog, maybe a terrapin is going to catch a ride on a wave as I create the wake, Tristan has decided to leave his profession as a field guide / wildlife presenter. He's now becoming a weatherman.
We are indeed. So that's what Taylor looks like, and the reason why Taylor looks that way is because, well, there's this ginormous amount of water that is busy falling on us. So this whole band over here is what is actually busy hitting us at the moment. So that little dot is roughly where we are. It's not exact, but this is the system that is busy hitting us. And we went through the forecast and we thought, well, it was slowly starting to drift a little bit off towards the coastline, and then it just starts coming back. So at 2 o'clock we should see a sort of dip in the rain, but it is going to rain until 2 o'clock like it is now, which is ridiculous, and so it's going to be very heavy and it's going to be very difficult for us. But at 2 o'clock it should start to sort of wane down according to this, and then it's going to start coming back again at about 8-9 o'clock in the evening. We should start seeing a similar pattern coming back towards us. So it's a really big system at the moment. The good news is that the interior of the country, so there we go, we'll even use a weatherman word, the interior of South Africa is fairly dry. You can see down in Cape Town it's very dry. There's no systems there, and hopefully what's going to happen is this is going to start pushing up this way, and this system is going to go back out towards the Madagascar Channel. But I wouldn't hope on that just yet. I think it's still probably another 2 days, I believe, of rough weather like we're having now. So it's going to be tough out there. I feel sorry for Brent and Taylor because it is really, really, really very wet. But when it is very, very wet, we often get interesting little things coming out, and so we managed to find probably the smallest millipede I have ever seen in my entire life. This is what I found on Wendy this morning. Sorry, VM, that was my head in your way. But you can see the size of my finger in relation to that millipede. It is absolutely tiny, so it is as small as they get. So this little one would have hatched out of the soil and is now moving around and going to start trying to feed on various little things, and then as it feeds, so it will add segments and little legs as it goes. But I was curious just to kind of see what it looked like under the microscope, and so I put it in this little tub to try and see, and we're going to put it in the microscope. There we go. So you can see it moving around. Now I'm just trying to move the tub so that we can see him, but look at the little antenna. They're moving around, feeling what's going on. Small little eyes, and it hasn't got its coloration yet. It hasn't got those deep blacks with red as they do when they are adults, so it's going to take a while for that to come. You can see a bit of blackening on the sides, but how cool is that little fella? You can see all of its little legs, and actually how small it is, because the particles of sand that are trapped in this little plastic container, you can see, and dust, you can see them actually on that little millipede. But how cute is that little fella? This is a baby Mildred. So what do we call this? We need Taylor in here to help us with what we're going to actually name a baby millipede. But there we go, just kind of negotiating. I feel bad because we're going to put it out in the rain because I'm pretty sure it wants to go and try and eat all of this nice soft vegetation that is rotting on the ground with rain like this, and our little tub that it's in is not going to be ideal for it. But it is such a cool little creature, and I've been loving it kind of crawling around and just watching the microscope as it has. Sorry, I've lost focus there. I'm going the wrong way for focus. There we go. So we just needed to get the right turning, but there it goes. It's just kind of moving along, and you can see how those legs work. So basically it's a wave of legs that takes place as the millipede goes forward, so the next set kind of moves behind the last set, and slowly but surely they edge their way forward with all of those hundreds of pairs of legs that they've got. And you can see they actually move quite quickly when they want to, so they go quite fast and can actually cover quite a bit of ground in quite... So, now, Rebecca, if you can just repeat the name for me because I missed the first part. Chitty Chatty Meg. There we go. You are asking about differences between millipedes and centipedes. Other than the fact that a centipede is the spawn of Satan, a millipede, well, you'll see has lots and lots of legs like this, more legs than what the centipede has got, way, way, way more. They also have a much more blunted, rounded head. Oh, sorry, I've lost focus again. There we go. We'll just get that back in. A much more blunted, rounded head. You'll have these short antennae, and it has a very tubular body on a millipede. A centipede, however, is very different. A centipede has a flattened body, and I think I've got a picture. I'll try and see if I can find one for you quickly in a book while our millipede walks around. Oopsie, I've lost our millipede. There it is. We'll leave it to walk around while I try and find centipedes. I'm not sure if we're going to have a centipede in this book. Taylor left me her book because she didn't want it to get wet, so I'm trying to see if I can find a centipede somewhere in here. But millipede, hold still. The problem with this is that this millipede is going all over the show, and it's kind of a constant maneuvering process to try and keep it on the screen. So it's going to be easier if I can find a picture of a centipede. Do we not have a centipede in here anywhere? The tent's normally got all kinds of things. I'll have to speak to James, but Google is not a bad idea. So I do apologize if my little millipede goes out of frame while I try and get a picture of a centipede on Google. There we go. So I'm going to try and find a picture quickly while our little millipede moves about, and you guys enjoy his little antennas moving and going all over the place. Centipede. There we go. That was quick. Right, so we've got a centipede image to show all of you, and some very, very brave soul, because I was looking at skulls just now, but some very brave soul that is busy holding one of these. I don't think I would ever be somebody that would pick up a centipede, because if you've ever been stung by one of those, you'll know how sore that can be. But essentially, you see the shape of the body. The body is very flattened in comparison to the millipede, far less sets of legs. They do have also much longer kind of legs than what you see on the millipede. The millipede's legs are very short, long antenna that comes off, and then these nasty little pieces at the back. And they actually have this kind of wing-like structure that comes out almost much like a prawn, if you've ever seen a prawn that comes out. And I'll try and find a picture of it quickly. Let me see if I can find a centipede. So I'm just trying to see. Now, Kieran, who's 8 years old, wants to know if these millipedes get more legs as they grow. Yes, so they add segments and more legs will come along. They don't just kind of grow without having to add, because otherwise if they grow and they add a segment and there's no legs on it, that segment's going to end up dragging. So there has to be little legs on the segment itself. Now, I'm trying to find a certain image that has got this little wing-like structure that comes off the back of a centipede, but I can't seem to find it. We had it the other day. It was really amazing. We found one in camp, and it had these little like tails coming off of it, and so I'm trying to see if I can find one for all of you, but I don't seem to find them. They're such horrible things, centipedes. I really don't like them at all. They are kind of nasty, and they crawl around, and they seem to come out at night, and they're very fast moving in comparison to our millipede, who kind of just plows along. Centipedes are like these fast, quick, agile creatures, and that's because they're far more predatory than what these guys are, and you wouldn't want to tangle with a centipede. I can promise you right now, it is not a very pleasant experience when one of those hits you and you get, well, stung by a centipede. It really is very, very sore. So that's our little millipede. I think, should we release our millipede now that it's stopped raining? I think we should. Let's take him outside and let's see what he's getting up to. Good news is that the rain is subsiding a little bit, so that's good. Now, little millipede, we're going to put you out here so that you can go and try and find yourself some food. It's going to camouflage very well. That's probably why it's lighter in color than it is than an adult, because you probably find it's a lot more susceptible to being picked by a bird, so it blends in with the sand. Now, I've released it. You won't see where it's gone, and I need to be careful where I step. But while we kind of think about what we're going to do with our millipede, let's send you back across to Taylor McCurdy, who's at a waterhole. Not that you would tell the difference between the roads and the waterholes this morning.
We are. Now I need to splash my face because I'm not sure if I'm seeing correctly. Are those buffalo in front of us?
Right, we wait for the next wave.
I can't believe my eyes. Look at what we found. Also, that should not be filling up in the car like that. That just goes to show you how much rain there actually was. Right, here is the rest of the buffalo herd that unfortunately the Avoca males attacked and managed to wrangle a buffalo last night. They are terrified. They are on high alert. They are not very happy at the moment. Even when we approached, they all sort of made that sort of snorting sound, heads raised. Who goes there is basically what they were shouting at us. Now that they've realized it's us, they've actually settled down just a little bit, which is quite nice. But they're all standing around, keeping a watchful eye what could come out of the bushes. See, at the moment, there's not many places to hide with all the thickets around. So on Philemon's cut line like this, it provides a little bit of an opening, you can see, so that they can keep an eye out. Crazy though. And I'm also just checking the rest of the herd to see if there are any other buffalo that perhaps got caught up in the drama last night. Maybe they tried to go for an adult and, weren't successful. What's going on with this? Oh, is this little calf here? Seb, just to the right, sort of basically in front of us. There's one cow. Yes, that one. Her. I think her calf is trying to suckle. But Mom wasn't really standing still, but at least she's settled down now. You can see that tail wagging. I'm sure that's a happy wag that it's being able to suckle. Mom doesn't look too impressed, though. And Tristan, also, as you said, the rain is letting up. It got harder where we are. So thank you very much for that. It's very kind of you. Why we decided to move away from quarantine and stop driving through the puddles is that we thought we'd also try and go find frogs. I have a good feeling because I'm hearing them all chirping. So we'll get there at some point. We might have to go the scenic way around as we've obviously got a roadblock. And I feel bad that they've endured what they endured last night. I feel like, pushing them off the road wouldn't be the nicest thing to do to them today. Little one, I bet you're going to feel a lot happier with a belly full of milk. That might just make this day a little bit better than what it has been already. Apparently you're all saying that if these buffalo need to be careful. I agree, because, yes, the Avoca males have taken down one, but I mean a sub-adult buffalo, I reckon those boys could probably pack a few more pounds of beef. Where are the Nkuhuma Pride? What are they eating? Perhaps they're on the trail of these buffalo. We will have no idea because, well, the rain has washed away all their tracks. Look at that fella in there. This is quite cool, in fact. So very nice that at least the buffalo stuck around. They look like they've obviously slept here. I think obviously after the commotion, they came stampeding across quarantine and eventually settled for this spot. Some of them are taking a much-needed rest. But I'm sure they're going to get on the move again shortly and carry on. Now, if you listen very carefully, you may be able to hear some birds. Can you hear them? Those little chirps that you can hear are from the oxpeckers. So there we go, Alana, yes. The oxpeckers are still here. With the buffalo, even in the rain, if I was an oxpecker, I'd be dangling from the underside or in their ears, also trying to keep nice and warm. They don't mind it too much. If it was a torrential downpour, there we go, one almost landed on that buffalo, it'd be a different story. You find that those oxpeckers probably just go rest up in a tree somewhere, but they don't mind this rain just too much. I bet it's probably warmer than sitting in a tree. Remember, they're now getting the body heat off of that, well, not just that buffalo, but all of the buffalo that are here. Beautiful. So nice to see them. I can't even see what's on the screen at the moment. Here's a hard one to answer. Maybe Tristan can help us here. Maybe he can demonstrate with a skull. Now, and it's because Daryl's asked, why do the jaws go side to side rather than up and down? I feel like it's with all the animals. I'm trying to think. When you chew, Seb, we also kind of go a little bit sideways, eh?
A little bit, yeah.
I suppose that's going up and down. Rebecca's telling me to stop talking nonsense now. With buffalo, though, and a lot of the animal species, they need to grind their food down quite a bit. So I would imagine that sideways motion really gets the pot stirring on inside. But we're going to have to ask Tristan to maybe demonstrate with a skull, because that is of a buffalo there, to put one back together, or maybe not. Chew, chew, swallow. Chew, 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 chew. Ooh. Chew. I wonder if Rebecca's now saying, I wonder if they've ever dislocated their jaw from eating. I don't think they could do that. I mean, that's got to be some serious grass you're tackling then if you're going to dislocate your jaw. Can you imagine he goes to his friend, Billy, why weren't you at school today? And he said, dinner last night and then I just chewed my grass too much in my jaw. We maybe still be talking like that, or we'd have it wired shut. I don't know. No, I have no idea. Buffalo, I really like you, but you're being very quiet today. So what we're going to do is I'm going to try and provide as much content to Tristan as I can this morning, because I know he's having fun in the tent, and on days like this sometimes it can be hard to find things. So Tristan, I think, has got some skulls out, and he's going to show you the jaw structure of a buffalo, and perhaps he'll demonstrate how they chew.
Well, Taylor, we can, but we're not going to use a buffalo skull because I don't have the lower mandible on a buffalo skull, so I've only got a zebra skull, which is slightly different, and they don't chew the exact same, but the same principles will apply, and I'll show you basically why they're chewing like that fairly shortly, so this will just have to do for now. But if we have to open it up, first of all, we'll start in the front here. You can see that even in a buffalo, you'll have a very similar set of teeth right in the front that are there, and they are designed when they are eating the grass to basically snip the grass. So those will just be like little cutting teeth that snip grass and basically cut it as it then goes into the mouth. It then travels backwards and it goes actually into the mouth itself, and what you've got then is you've got a whole bunch of very flattened teeth that have these kind of ridges on them. And so basically what happens is with all of these animals, and I know zebra has a different digestive tract to a buffalo and doesn't ruminate, but essentially what happens with these guys is as the food goes in, it's in long blades of grass, particularly with buffalo and zebras, and so it needs to be broken down a little bit, and buffalo need to break it down as much as possible to gain every little bit of nutrients in there. And so what happens is if they went straight up and down like this, the grass itself and the ball that they are busy kind of regurgitating to re-chew is just going to get essentially squashed. It's not actually going to be cut up into pieces to then be digested. So if they go and they grind a little bit and they chew like this, these ridges that you see all along here are going to help cut that grass up and make it into tiny, tiny, tiny little pieces that can then be swallowed and actually be absorbed, and every little bit of nutrients can be taken in. So it's basically like a blender, if you want to kind of call it like that. So as they come down and they chew, they basically cutting and squashing it and pushing every little bit of nutrients out, so that when it goes back down, it's almost like a paste rather than an actual blade of grass. In the zebra's case, there won't be as much chewing. They'll kind of chew a little bit and then send it down. It's just a little bit different. But that's basically the structure of teeth and why the animals chew from side to side. Good. We are going to put our skull back down again. It's very, very sticky, which is very odd. But while we kind of work out why it's so sticky, let's send you back to Bentley Smith, who is doing a spot of birding in the rain.
Well, not much birding to be had this morning, so the doves are out and about, and we've got two different species there. We had two different species there. We have one species there. There's one laughing dove left. The cape turtle doves have flown off. But they don't seem to be minding the rain too much. Now, it sort of comes in waves, so it's... Oh, there we go. It's not too bad at the moment, but... a little bit earlier it was so bad I had to find a tree to park under just to try protect us a little bit. We're going to keep slowly moving, slowly being the operative word here. I actually remembered something from yesterday that we were discussing, or Taylor was discussing, about arrow-marked babblers and whether they were monogamous or not. I meant to answer it yesterday, but I completely forgot. They're not. They're cooperative breeders, and it's very difficult to actually see which of the breeding individuals in their flocks but all the members of the flock will look after the chicks, and there can be multiple females that have chicks in a group nest, so with cooperative breeding. So there we go. I remembered that now while I was sitting looking at those birds. So there we go. Now it gets a bit harder again. Fuff weather. Good for the bush, bad for game drive. Now I'm hoping there's going to be some animals on quarantine. Jacqueline's wondering what causes the road to become corrugated. Very simple, people driving too fast. That's what causes corrugations on dirt roads. People driving too fast and the wheels spin and create those little holes. So people, naughty people. And you'll notice most of the game drive roads are not corrugated. They might be bumpy, but they're not corrugated. Where there is the access roads, the big in and out roads that are used by deliveries and people going to and from the gate, the bigger roads, they normally become corrugated from people driving too fast. Now what I'm really looking for now from a birding point of view is an emergence of termite owlets, and I'm hoping we find one, because then we might get some nice birds all in one spot. So far, just Cape turtle doves in the road. And we're heading up towards quarantine now. I'm hoping that there's some impala, some wildebeest, maybe even a lost zebra who's moved down from the gabbros. Okay. Is there any mammalian heartbeat on quarantine? Let's find out. Oh, that was a mistake. Going into second, immediately got wet. Time to go slowly again. Oh dear, it's not looking promising on quarantine. Where's everything hiding? Okay, well, I'm going to keep checking on quarantine. In the meantime, I think it's time for you guys to answer a question. But after Daryl's question. Now, of course, oh, wait, there Daryl, there's one there, Daryl, for you. So, of course, there's lots of little holes and things in termite mounds. And Daryl was saying, well, you know, if it's raining, are they going to get flooded? Normally not. I mean, we need an incredible amount of rain, and this is a extinct or disused. That one's actually alive. Termite mound, and when it does rain, those termites are quite quick to close up any potential holes that might be a threat. They'll brick it up, so to speak. And there are lots and lots of little chambers in that. So I'm sure some chambers will get flooded, but the core part of where the Queen and co live is probably very dry, and they keep that quite safe. Now also, a lot of the holes are quite small, the little breathing holes and that, so you would actually need it to properly bucket down 10 times worse than it's doing today to actually flood a termite mound completely. I can't believe there's not even an impala or a nyala or a wildebeest on quarantine. Nothing. Good morrow, Zach. Now, Zach, I was just talking about the gabbros, which is a type of soil that is dark clayey soil where different grasses grow, and that's where all the zebra are this time of the year. So we do see zebra frequently and at the moment, however, they on their local seasonal migration. They move up towards the gabbros and the basalt plains to the north and to the east of us, and they'll feed there during the summer months, getting big congregations of zebra there. probably about 40 or 50 kilometers away from where we are now at the furthest. And then as it dries, they'll move back into the mixed woodland thickets of the northern Sabi sands to take advantage of the grass that's growing between all the thickets and that. So the zebra will be back. They normally start... An impala, yes! They normally start coming back, what are we now, March or April? March. So middle to end of April, that's when we normally start seeing more zebra, and they're on their way back. Hello, wet little impala. Little boy. Now, why are you all on your own? Off you go. Where's everyone else? Only one lone impala. Interesting. Now, he could be quite nervous because of the weather and the fact that he's on his own. I wonder if... There's one animal that really likes hunting in this weather, and that is the African wild dog. I wonder if these impala have been bombshelled. Has there been anything on the dam cam, guys? Let me know. Now, when you start seeing impala... there's another impala. Well spotted, Craig. I mean, maybe he's just having a nap and got left behind. Now, I've got someone who's posing quite nicely for us here. I'm just going to have to move so Craig can get him. There we go. Good morning, yellow-billed hornbill. Doing a bit of beak preening, looking slightly bedraggled from the rain, but if there are any termite alates around, that hornbill is going to have a feast. And that's what I thought he might be doing. Have you found an open... I can't see if there are any flying ants coming out. Well, he's definitely found something to eat there. What is he doing? Yep, termites. Now, those could be termites. Those termites could be just trying to repair a hole in the termite mound from the rain or from something else. And the hornbill is taking advantage of that. Well, the rain has let up quite a bit. I don't think it's over by any means. I think it might come down again in squalls, but for now, it's a light drizzle. I mean, he's having a very good breakfast. I'm just trying to see. There are flying ants. Oh, he's having the best breakfast then. So, I mean, incredibly rich in protein. So, for those of you who don't know what termite alates are, he's not even letting them take off before grabbing them. And he's the only bird there. He's got his own little private stash. So, for those of you who don't know what termite alates are, they are the flying ants. They are the reproductive arm of the termite army. So, male and female will fly out and then lose their wings, and then they will join together in not so much matrimony as mating, and then start digging down and forming a new colony. Now, Jacqueline's wondering what's the oldest termite mound. Well, it depends, Jacqueline, if it's living or not. I've heard of termite mounds 800 to 900 years old. Other people say they don't get older than 200 years old. So it is a bit of a debate. No one really knows for sure. But extinct termite mounds and termite mounds that have been dead can survive for many, many years. And in certain parts of the world, such as the Okavango Delta in Botswana, they end up forming the base of an island. So you'll have an open island that's got a little bit of grass and an odd termite mound, and then the birds start sitting there, trees start growing on it, and it actually forms the base of a tree island in certain parts of the Okavango, and that's how those big tree islands would have started, on a couple of big termite mounds. Munch, 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 munch. Craig's probably jealous because Craig's always hungry. Oh, do you spot another one? So what he's doing is, as those owlets are coming out, he's just eating them before they even get a chance to open their wings and head out into the world. Now that's why termites release thousands upon thousands of them, because they're very high in protein. They're eaten by almost everything: leopards, people, jackal, birds, baboons, monkeys. What now? Are you done there? Now, what will often happen when... That's a dung beetle. Okay. Varied diet. Good for you. They are quite comical birds, the old the hornbills. And they've got a very varied diet. They'll also... Oh, off he goes. They'll also eat fruit. And if you leave any bread or maize meal out around camp, they will be there. And if you're not careful, they'll actually land on your breakfast table and steal your breakfast in certain lodges, the yellow-billed hornbill. But it seems like Tristan has got something under the microscope to show you.
I do indeed, Brent, and I'm pretty sure that this little insect is as happy could be to be in this area and away from the marauding beak of a yellow-billed hornbill, which seems to be just gobbling up everything in its path. So what we managed to find was actually Taylor found it, and I saw the very same insect yesterday on Wendy. And it is a flower mantis that we managed to find. You normally see them out and about on bushwalks, on all various plants, and they're sitting on those flowers waiting for insects to come that they can then grab and eat them. But this particular individual found itself on Wendy somehow. I don't absolutely know why it's there, but it was there. And so we thought we'd bring it in because I think they have the most amazing eyes. And so I wanted to try and show you the eyes of this little flower mantis. So we put it under the microscope, and I've got a view of its one eye at the moment, and you can see it's got this very pointy little part to it, the little black dot in the middle, and it's pink with white spots. It's amazing. So it's got this kind of conical shaped eye with beautiful colors that are on it, and they then sit like that, and they're actually very responsive to movement. So with these flower mantis, I've photographed a few of them before, and as you move around, they move around with you. You can see the little antennas twitching as well. This particular individual probably is very cold, and so doesn't actually want to move too much, and that's why it's allowing us a little view of it. But they are amazingly beautiful animals. Look at the coloration that you've got throughout that body. It's got lots of greens and whites and little pink markings all over the place, and that's how it will blend in on a lot of these plants that are flowering. They find places where they can kind of camouflage incredibly well, and then they use that massive eye and those long antennae to be able to pick up any disturbance around them, and then they'll come in and grab it using those long front legs that have got this little spikes on them. You can see the spikes coming down. Those are able to go forward and grab onto whatever it is, and then it pulls it in and it starts to feed on it. And I always love how the mantis sits with its leg kind of up and its eyes obscured by the leg itself. So very, very cool to see. And like I said, this is probably one of my favorite kinds of mantis we get out here. These flower mantis are really very pretty. This particular one is quite large. It's quite a big one for the species. We do actually get ones that are a little bit smaller than this, and normally a lot harder to find. There's one particular mantis that we get here, flower mantis, that I really love, which is the one-eyed flower mantis, and it's got this big circle on its back. This is not that one, but those are really very cool, and actually a lot bigger than what these guys are. But you can see it's sitting pretty motionless at the moment. I suppose it's in the perfect place just to relax. It's got itself into a nice dry place. It's not getting rained on. There's no threat of any predators here, and so, oh, there we go. It's moving a little bit. So wisteria, there are a lot of animals that do love and appreciate the rain. You'll find that the buffalo, even though they're being hunted, will be very appreciative of the rain, and so will things like zebras or any grazing animal, because they're going to get a fresh grass growth. Some of the insects, like the winged owlets, the termites, will also appreciate the rain because they then start to hatch, and they're able to then start establishing new colonies and termites mounds all over the place. And you'll find that even the termites in existing mounds are going to be very happy about about rain, because they can then excavate further and the soil's much softer and the work that they do is much easier. So there are a lot of animals that do. Any of your animals that are eating flowers or feeding off nectar, they're going to be happy because of flowers that are going to be produced. You're going to get also an abundance of well-fed, healthy antelope, which generally means that you get a lot more young ones in offspring later in the, next year you'll have a positive growth of antelope species. And so rain is important for everybody. So June, you say this is the strangest insect you've ever seen. It is a little strange, isn't it? It's got an amazing kind of look to it, and it's incredible how they kind of are sort of designed. They've got this long body with these legs that come off, obviously, for moving, and then they've got these long front legs, which gives them their name, praying mantis, because they're kind of tucked up like somebody is praying, and those then shoot out to be able to hunt other insects. And then they've got these pointy eyes. Now, not all mantis species have this eye like this. Some of them have a bit more of a rounded eye. So the bark mantis has and leaf mantis have more rounded eyes. These guys have got the little conical eyes and are very, very cool. And this particular one has amazing antenna, big, long red antenna that it comes off, and it's a myriad of colors that are on them. It's absolutely incredible how much camouflage they've got. So, Jacqueline, basically, the reason a female eats a male after mating is because now that she's mated, she's soon going to go under a process where she's got to lay eggs, and that means, and build an ootheca, and that means that she's going to use a lot of her energy to do so, and there's going to be a lot of nutrients that she needs in order to produce those kind of things. And so as soon as she's mated, that's a food source, and so that he's done his job and no longer is needed near her. And because she's going to start producing these things and she's going to not need to start laying eggs, she then starts to feed off him to get nutrients and to recover some of the nutrients. But how cool is that? Absolutely amazing to see. I love watching these guys go about their business, and when you see them on flowers and actually hunting, that is the best thing to watch in the world. They're very, very cool little insects. I absolutely love them. Good. Now that the rain is slowly starting to slow down, it's getting almost, I think it's almost stopped now, which is really good news. Brent is back on Djuma, and let's find out what his plans are for the rest of the morning now that he is back here, and I wonder where he's going to be heading.
Tristan, I'm about 200 meters from you, and the rain has certainly not stopped. It's slowed down, I agree, but stopped not. I know Taylor had a brief visual of the Avoca boys this morning, and unfortunately Taylor's had to return to camp. There's a problem with Wendy. So we're just going to go very slowly through here, see if we get any luck with the lions. At the moment, been a big herd of impala that have walked down here, so hopefully they're going to be acting as our forward scouts and spot the lions and start snorting profusely. In the meantime, I'm keeping to my first gear speed limit, and it stops the rain coming in too much and getting onto all the equipment and the kit and me, although that didn't really work too well. Hello, impalas. So this is where all the quarantine impalas are hiding. Now, this late summer rain is going to be very good for the bush, but it could also be good for the birds. And that's what James was asking, whether this late rain could convince some of the migratory birds to stay. It all depends, James, and if we get an insect explosion. If it's cuckoos, they'll need caterpillars and various things. So it could do. It all just depends what happens. Oh, I can hear a car behind me. I think I'm causing a traffic jam. Let me just move. Of course, I have no way of seeing directly behind me. Morning! How's everyone doing? Miserable. Yes. At least it slowed down a bit. Okay, I'll check down Gallagher shortcut towards the Shkova and the old Nisikaya. Okay. Yes. Well, I'm just trying to stay dry. Bye. There we go. Aubrey is out from Gallagher. He's going to see if the lions went down there. I'm just going to putter along here. Using our fork. Oh, look at that one eating the grass. That little boy there. Don't run away. Oh no, he swallowed it all. He had quite a comical look on his face while he was munching on the grass there. There's a big herd of impala, this one. Oh, bless you. I don't know if you could hear that. There was an impala sneeze. And if you listen carefully, you might even hear some of the young ones still talking. That bah, bah. Oh, there we go. Those boys are last year's babies. So about 2 years old now. I think the rain is abated enough that we're going to be able to lift the front corners and give us a little bit more of a view to what's going on around us rather than only the frontal view. Hello, little man. Now they're looking in good nick, and this late rain will help them pick up a bit more condition going into the long dry season. And Wisteria says this is a fine looking herd. Indeed they are. This is our resident herd that hangs around quarantine. Quite a big herd, probably 50 or 60 individuals and in the herd. I was trying to shake the water off. Now Tristan, the rain has stopped. This herd's actually feeding down towards where Tristan is in the tent. I'm just listening carefully now to see if the front-running impala catch a hint of voca males. It's just an impala sneezing again. No alarm call snorts just yet. Very busy this morning, the impala. So now that the rain stopped, they won't mind this weather too much at all. You can see they're looking quite chipper. Definitely more chipper than me. Okay, well, we're going to lift the front corners of our roof so we can have a little bit more of a view. While we do that, let's go across to Spaler. To Spaler, who's got a tider web.
Spaler? I haven't heard that nickname before, but you know, I'll take it. It's coming from Brent, I suppose I should see it as a compliment. Here we go, we have a spider's web, we do, and I've been talking about it for the last couple of evenings, about trying to find the home of community nest spiders, but here it is. No one is home though, as you can imagine, because what spider would want to be out on a day like today? Not me, for sure. Luckily I'm not a spider, otherwise I'd be curled up inside. But here's a little ant moving around on there, maybe living in conjunction with these spiders, collecting all the debris, because we know that there'll be hundreds of spiders, funny enough, small ones, all living together communally. And you can imagine we've got lots and lots of spiders, well, they're going to be catching things often. So it's quite clear over the ants, as while those spiders are not awake, because they're typically nocturnal, so they come out once the sun has gone down. Then what might happen is that those ants come around and actually collect all the bits and pieces of moths and maybe bigger ants, and perhaps some grasshoppers, whatever may have been caught up in that web. Those spiders will indeed go, not the spiders, the ants will go after. So that's quite cool to see, in fact. I don't think that the spider would be interested in an ant though, because one ant, not really going to feed many of them, and they all work together. It's really incredible when a massive moth will land in that web, and then all those spiders will run out at the same time. They respond to the movement on the web, and then they all basically just power it to the floor, not quite to the floor, but into the web, and then some may start wrapping it, others are biting down on it and venomating it. They're really small. It's quite cool to see. In fact, we've been lucky, we've seen it a few times. Now, Seb, I don't think you can see it. How far up this tree can we see? No, you can't. Nothing. You can hear a squirrel alarming, and the squirrel is alarming because you're not going to be able to see it, sadly. There is a Wahlberg's eagle sitting up top there, but you can't see it. And I don't think it matters how far back I go, unfortunately, Seb. I don't think we're going to get it. But that's what the squirrel is shouting at, which is the Wahlberg's eagle that is trying to dry off. Okay, let's carry on. I'm freezing. I thought it was all fun playing around in the rain, like, whoo! No, not laughing so much anymore. Joke's on me today. Cannot wait to go and have a hot shower. Because I'm absolutely soaked. The worst thing is that my clothes, my other jacket is wet from yesterday too. So someone is going to I may have to get inside the tumble dryer, or my clothes can also just go in. Oh no, drongo. There's a poor fork-tailed drongo sitting quite close, but of course as you touch the brakes, they're out. If I carried on driving, I bet it just would have sat there. Anyone's still there? Are we even? Are you there? Thank goodness, Seb. I feel like you're the only one that I've got to talk to today. Everyone's very quiet in Final Control. Very quiet. It's like they've just left me with you. They've gone to go have a shower, get some more coffee, all these amazing things. Tristan, I don't think you should stay in the tent. I think you should come and join us out here and get nice and wet so that I can quickly go back and get a different jacket and put a different shirt on so I don't get hypothermia. But let's go across as Tristan decides what he should do. Come out with us or stay and play in the tent.
Well, we probably will actually head out, Taylor. It's starting to now get to the point where it's soft enough that we can get into jigger and come out and join you guys. So that's the idea anyway. You'll see it looks like it's starting to rain again, though, which is not ideal. So we'll just see how we're going to go. But I think it would be nice to get out and to go and see what's happening. It's probably very, very wet out there, and as we know, quite quiet at this stage. But you never know, maybe if the rain stops, something will come out and start to scent mark or start to do something, and we can then pick them up. Now, talking about scent marking, we have good news for those of you that were not with us at the beginning of the show, that we have officially gotten a name for Tandi's little cub. So, I forget the name now even. It's Tlalalamba is the name, which is a mouthful, and we will get it right eventually. And it basically means a playful, mischievous individual, and so that was the name that all of you chose. And so while we've now named this little one, for those of you who have no idea what I'm talking about, the name of this little cub came because we asked all of you to do so. And we have a few highlights of this little cub, so if you just joined us, you can now be introduced to the little one that is known as Tlalalamba.
We are very, very fortunate to catch them in this playful mood. Mom will spend many hours away from this cub every day as she searches for meals. And you can see that this cub is very happy that Mom is back. And we've been absolutely loving being able to watch the excitement of these two. How cool is this? Look, it's up on the log now. You're in such a playful mood this morning, and I'm very, very happy that you are, because you are giving us the most incredible insights into the life of a young, energetic, and playful leopard cub. Yeah, we've got lucky. Sorry about the small tech issue, but we found Tandi. And I'm not too sure what's got her attention. You can see she's kind of sneaking up quite stealthily towards us. And there's something in the area that she's very interested by. I'm not sure if it's the cub. We haven't seen the young cub yet. Absolutely awesome. So there's Mom, and here comes the little cub. That's not so little anymore. Morning, you. We haven't seen you for so long. Yay! We got them. And it's been quite a while since this little cub's seen us. And that's why it's looking a little bit inquisitively. But you can see it certainly hasn't lost its playful, almost rebellious nature. Look at this. How crazy! What next? David, looks like the cub might be creeping up on her again. Let's see if the cub doesn't do an almighty pounce here. Should be coming into frame shortly. There we go. And here it comes again. Ah, too good to be true.
Oh, little Talaramba, having lots of fun. Murphy's Law, as I lifted the front sides, it decided to start raining again. I don't know what to do. I'm having a quick look for these male lions. Also, oh. Okay. I've just said where the lions are. I'm just going to see who's closer. So just go. Let me just find out where Taylor is quickly. See who's closer to the lions. Taylor, what's your position? Well, I can't seem to hold it. I don't think the radio stopped working. Aubrey, are you copying me? Okay, it seems like they're just getting beat from me. I figured it.
Well, it seems as though Brent has got some gremlin issues and is trying to sort them out. As the problem with the rain is the radios don't like the rain very much, and neither does any of the other equipment. And so hopefully Brent will get that sorted out and we'll be able to get a view of those lions. I'm sure they're not too far from where we are. Liam and I actually were outside just now and we could hear the go-away birds going crazy. And those lions where Taylor first saw them is just north of where we are. And we're actually thinking about it this morning. We came into the tent to set it up, and it was completely pitch black, and there was no idea if those three boys were around, and they could have been right here, and you would have never known. So we have to be a little bit more careful and use a torch like Brent had yesterday, or went to come and fetch, because it's important to have torches out. Now, talking about being outside, I actually want to go and have a little look how it's doing, because we've had a situation where the rain kind of stopped. It looks like it's starting again, and we were thinking about going into Jigger to go and see if we're going to go out, but I think it's not looking very pleasant at all. There's starting to get a bit more rain that is falling. It's not really settled down, and if I look across all around us, there's more rain that seems to be coming from this northern side, and so I don't know if we're going to head out just yet. We'll unfortunately have to leave Taylor and Brent out there to kind of manage it. If Taylor does need to come back and get dry, she can. Well, I'll definitely just jump into Wendy and go out with Wendy, and she can come into the tent if that's what she needs to do. It's not a problem. Now, I'm not sure where this has come from, but it looks fairly fresh. It must have been while I was on leave. It's a serious set of waterbuck horns that is on here, and I think this was the Nkuhumas, wasn't it? I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but it's still got some meat on it, which would indicate that it is a fresh carcass of a few weeks ago. Also, I know it's a lion that has eaten it because, well, its entire face has basically been eaten off. So if you have a look there, that is what happens when lions get hold of things. They do it, and you can actually see with the rain what's happening is this carcass has got a bit of a smell to it, because the meat itself, even though it was desiccated and dry, has actually moistened up a little bit, and that's causing a whole bunch of ants to come and start feeding off
all of the little bits that are left. And so you're going to find that even though this has kind of been finished and there's not really much left there, there's still little bits, and many different little animals will come and eat this. I wouldn't even be surprised if we maybe find some carcass beetles coming into this area over the course of the next few days to come and feed off this now damp carcass. But that's what's been smelling. Wiem and I thought when we came to the tent this morning, something smells like it's a bit dead. But there we go, Wiem, we've found out what it is. But that is a really big set of waterbuck horns. I just want to put it so that it stays upright. Otherwise I'm going to be in trouble if it falls somehow. Is that going to work, Wiem? I think so, yes. It's like the chair of death at the moment. It's got skulls everywhere and bits all over the place. You can see there's an impala skull, a waterbuck skull, and a giraffe skull. It's almost like a Game of Thrones throne that's been made out of skulls at the moment, which is not so very pleasant. Now, I'm trying to think what else we can try and find. We're looking around, and with the rain it makes it a little bit difficult. Most of the insects are gone. We'll try to see if we can find some more specimens, and while we do that, let's send you back to Brent, who's now sorted out his gremlins and has a little bird in a tree that I'm sure is not looking very comfortable.
Well, it could be happy if it finds some termites. Now, it is a very pretty little bird, and it's got little fake eyes on the back of its head. And there's a little pearl-spotted owlet. Now, unfortunately, it's got its back to us at the moment. I'm going to try sneak a little bit closer so we can see it from the front. Hopefully it doesn't dash away. Well, fly away, not dash. Dash pertains to legs. Oh, he's so cute. You got him, Craig? Look at that. The sun is even coming out. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Hello, little one. He does look a bit grumpy with the weather. Or with us. Oh, look at him. Now, you can see the little pearl spots that give him his name. This is a very relaxed little one. I mean, we're no more than 2 or 3 meters from it. Now, these little owls are called owlets, and it happens to be Jules's favorite type of owl. Well, I'm very happy we have managed to bring you your favorite type of owl. This is the second smallest of the owlets we get here on Djuma, the smallest being the Scops owlet, and also the Scops is the most difficult to find. Now, these little owlets often have quite a hard time from drongos, who will actually mimic their call to call them in. So the little males will come in thinking there's another male owlet in its territory. They'll come to chase it away, and what will happen is they'll get attacked by the drongos. Oh, he's very, very pretty. As I said, all of a sudden there's a bit of sunlight sneaking through the cloud. Lisa, he is an adult. Lisa was wondering if... Oops, sorry, Craig, I'm going to just take my foot off the brake. Lisa says, is he on his own, or was there adults nearby? This is an adult pearl-spotted owlet. As I say, owlet. It's a very small species of owl. So it is an adult. It is not a juvenile or a baby. And they normally live in pairs, so there's possibly another one close by. But it's not. It does look very grumpy. And that's looking at you, Craig. Oh, are we going to have a little shake? Puffing up his feathers. Come on, give us a little shake, get the water off. Now, an owlet is a small species of owl. It is not a baby owl. Some people do call baby owls owlets, but in Africa we have 3, or in this part of Africa we have 3 owlets: the Scops owlet, the pearl-spotted and the barred owlet. You can also call them owls. They are just very small species of owls. It is not a baby. Oh, we're going to leave the bedraggled owlet to dry off, and it looks like we might get a little bit of sunshine. There's some blue sky above me, but it sounds like Taylor's caught up with those Avoca boys.
We have, and he's about to disappear. There he goes. Now, this is where the problem is going to come in this morning, is that the others have gone down into a drainage line. I need to move so Aubrey can reposition. I don't think, are going to have signal in this drainage line, unfortunately. Just see where we're going to go. Give them a bit of room. And right down here they've gone, and I've been down here a couple of times with wild dogs. I think every time I've gone in there I've lost signal. I'm obviously not going to try now. I sort of let Aubrey go around and find his spot, because otherwise it's going to end up in a crash cut. That's just how it is. Lion got up and decided to move away. Yeah. This is a fun game drive today, isn't it? It's wonderful. Okay, well, I'm going to try and get in there. Don't hold breath.
Now, we have a few gremlins, unfortunately, that are attacking Taylor at the moment, and Brent as well. I'm not sure why. It's almost like now that the rain stopped, everybody's coming out to play, including the gremlins themselves. But at least there's a brief glimpse of one of those Avoca boys. Hopefully we'll find a situation where they can sit somewhere where Taylor will be able to stop and be able to view them and watch them quite nicely. Now, earlier I was talking about centipedes, and we were talking about the flag-like tails that they sometimes get, or I said it almost looks like a prawn tail, and I managed to find a picture of them that I can show all of you guys. So if you have a look here, this is what I was talking about. You see it's got this long kind of protrusion off the back. There it is, kind of curled around the eyes on that side, and then this tail-like structure, and there's a nice sort of close-up of what the tail looks like. It's a very odd thing, isn't it? It looks really weird, and it comes out and it's almost very alien-like, and that's part of the reason why I think I don't like centipedes, is because they've got that. And I was reading up about it. Initially I thought there was some sort of maybe use in terms of attracting a mate, and apparently there is an element of that, but it's more used to ward off other predators. So basically what happens is it'll stick it out through the substrate, so normally in sand or something like that, and they rattle them around to try and then scare off whatever predator might be around there. So something like maybe a civet or a genet or jackals, or what else would go after them. And that's pretty much all birds of some sort, and so that's what they use it for. But it's such a weird structure. Like I said, this is something almost out of an alien comic book, is a centipede, and that's probably why, part of the reason why nobody really likes them very much is, one is that they can hurt you, two is that they look really creepy, and three, they've got all kinds of weird sort of things that come off them, like flag-like tails, which is pretty crazy to see. So amazing that we managed to find it. I didn't think we'd find it on the internet, but the internet is an amazing place, and there's everything that you can possibly ask for on there. Now, it does look like we are going to maybe get out of the tent. It's starting, like Brent says, to get some sunshine. Now, those will be the first bit of sun we've had in about 3 days, so it is absolutely glorious, and I think I'm going to go and revel in the sunshine. Let's try and head out here and see. Yes, there is indeed sunshine. Isn't that wonderful, Viam? That is a very, very nice thing. There is the sun that is coming out, and it's going to hopefully dry us off a little bit. It's been a very soggy start to our morning here at Djuma, and it will be nice just to kind of feel like we're going to dry off. It's also amazing how much warmth comes off that sun immediately. It was cold this morning, it was wet, it was damp, and it feels like a completely different day now that we've got this light out. And I wonder if we're maybe going to start seeing some insects that are going to move around. If we look in all of these little Waltherias, maybe there's going to be something that's going to be creeping about now that there's a bit of sun. You might find some of the insects crawling out of the under vegetation and kind of just coming up and trying to get themselves on top so that they're able to then start drying off. Most of the winged insects, or anything with wings for that matter, even like that little owl that Brent had, are going to be out in the sun and just trying to puff up and dry out. I'd imagine we might even find some birds of prey with their wings out like this, just trying to kind of get some semblance of warmth. I also want to just double check, because where Taylor is is not very far from us. She's straight north on the other side, so I wanted to check if maybe we could see some sign of her, but I think she's actually gone a little further away from Gallego Pan. I could hear her vehicle and Aubrey's vehicle when they were in the sighting just now, and they're basically on the other side of the tent. So there's this drainage line here, and then that drainage line then goes down towards where Taylor is and on that area. So hopefully we will not have 3 male lions that decide that the tent is a great place to come and sleep, because that will make that we're not going to get very far at all, and we're going to really struggle with being able to get out here, well, out of here and onto Jigger, and to get out into the bush, which will be very, very nice. So, no, Rebecca, I don't want to live in the tent. We have perfectly adequate accommodation where I can live. Brent, on the other hand, would love to live in the tent. And also, the tent has got a leak, as you can see there by the drops. So, living in the tent would be, well, a damp affair, and I don't really feel like having stiletto snakes on my head. For those of you that missed that, Conrad came here yesterday to set up the tent and ended up with a snake on top of his head, which was not very pleasant at all. Luckily, he brushed it off and nothing happened to him, because stiletto snakes do have a nasty little bit of venom that can really sort you out and give you a sore finger or anything like that. Right, well, the lions apparently have gone into a dense area. Taylor's on the move again. I'm not sure if she's going to try and reposition, or if she's decided that she's just not going to be able to get to where they are. But let's go and find out.
Sadly, it is just not our day today, I'm afraid. We've had quite a bit of rain, as some of you may have noticed. So I don't think it's a good day to go off-roading. We do have a policy in the Sabi sand, anything more than 20 mils of rain, and no off-roading for 24 hours. Now, with that being said as well, where they've gone down into, we're not going to have any signal. They've gone right down an upper drainage line. I'm sure that's where they're just going to rest for the day. And this car seems to be having some issues as well, because where we were having some signal problems, we don't normally have that many signal problems there. I know down in the drainage line we do, so I don't know if something has maybe got wet, which is not impossible, as we were sitting out in some severe rain. So sadly we're going to have to call it. Aubrey's also leaving now, the sighting. At least you got to see a lion for 2 seconds. That's nice. Can't say we didn't see a cat. So yeah, there we go. We weren't hanging around for too long though. Wildflower, you're making my dreams come true. You've asked if the cars have a heater for a cold day. I wish they had a heater. No, sadly they do not. Unless you're driving a brand new Land Cruiser and you've got a door on the side of your car, then winter's very pleasant. Otherwise, no. We grit and bear the cold and the soaking rain. Like I said, I am freezing. I've just got permanent goosebumps now, but there's no, I mean, it's up and down the weather. Is it going to rain again? Is the sun going to come out? Because it looks like it's going to come out, but then I see another huge bank of clouds in the distance. So I'm not getting too excited by the fact that it's slightly lighter than it was earlier. So yeah, I'm just going to have to stick it out. How much safari time do we still have, Sebastian? I will be staying in my wet clothes for another hour and 12 minutes and 34 seconds. That's how long I'll be staying in these soaking clothes for. Then I shall be having a shower. I will probably be missing morning meeting. There's my notice now, as I'll be in the hot shower, trying to first brush the knots out of my hair, because we'll have to wash the hair. That's going to be fun. Please let there be sun for 2 hours so my hair can dry. And then I'll just put a plastic bag over it, and it's going to stay in a plastic bag until the rain decides that it's moving off completely. Ooh, look, Seb, more water. Are there frogs in this puddle? No, sadly not. There's a horn. Oh no, the hornbill's flown away. Lots of rain. Got to be careful for the terrapins now and all the frogs when going through the puddles. I'm sure we're going to see lots of tortoises coming out too. I don't know where we're going now though. Just driving. I'd like to still see some elephants. It's something I'd still like to spot. So it's a good time. The rain, like I said, the rain is let up. There seems to be a bit of sun at the moment. Raining under that tree, of course. So maybe the leopards are going to come out now. Perhaps this is going to be a good time. Everybody should come out too, of course. Who's going to come out? Not who. They are going to come out and hopefully re-scent mark all their territories. Right. Brent, however, is found the animal that I've been searching for the last 2 days.
Well, we've got a lovely little herd. This is an adult bull, probably around 26, 27, maybe even 30. You can't really see him too well. And there is a small family group around. But they definitely don't mind the wet weather. We had a brilliant patch of sun for about a minute that's disappeared, which means it's probably going to clear up today as the day goes on. And an hour or two ago, it felt like it would never stop raining. But it always does that when you're getting wet. It feels like it's never going to stop. But it always does eventually. Oh, he's disappearing. Like the rain. Let's see if we can get a view. Up on a sandy crest, so we're right on top of the hill. So that's why we can off-road here, even though it's been raining. They're well-drained soils, so we're not going to sink in anywhere, and I'm not on a seep line. All the elephants seem to be disappearing away from us, showing us their rear end. Hello, girl. Murphy's Law. But they look quite content in this wet weather, feeding through up on the sandy crests. Elephants really don't mind the rain. There are a few more through the bush there where Craig's showing you. You can just see a spot of grey. Let's see if we can get another view of that big bull. Santa from Canada is doing a project on elephant conservation. And could we discuss that a bit more? Well, of course we can. Now, elephant conservation is actually quite an interesting topic, because it can become very controversial very quickly. And now, in South Africa, we have the opposite problem to what the most of other parts of Africa have, is that South Africa, almost to a degree now, has too many elephant in certain areas. And there's even talk of reopening, there has been talk of reopening elephant culling in certain parts of South Africa. So what's happened now is that South Africa has done such a good job with its elephant conservation that you can't give an elephant away at the moment. There are too many, and even in the smaller reserves, they've tried to spread the elephant population, but elephant populations grow at a very sustainable rate. That's the word I was looking for. It sounds like what I will do for you as well is I will share a document on Twitter a bit later about that'll help you a lot with your project. It goes really in depth about the issues facing elephants in South Africa and other parts of Africa. There we go. But so in a lot of the smaller private reserves that are fenced, that are not open to the Kruger, the elephant population is becoming a problem. So what they've started doing in the smaller fenced reserves is actually snipping the boys. Young boys like that, he's an ideal candidate for a vasectomy. It doesn't change their behavior at all. They still come into must. They still think they're the most scary thing in the world, and the big, and their hormones work normally. However, they are unable to make a female pregnant. So what they do is they'll snip a certain percentage of the elephants within that area, and they'll put a small number of females in that area to sort of try control the speed of the elephant population's growth. Now, of course, in other parts of Africa, poaching is a very big problem. Probably the hardest hit areas of Africa at the moment in terms of elephant poaching are forest elephants in the Congo Basin rainforests. So from northern Angola into DRC, Congo to ROC Congo, Gabon, Cameroon, and Central African Republic are particularly hard hit at the moment. And of course, those rainforest areas are a lot harder to patrol and to protect than a savanna area where it's much easier, more open, you've got more visibility. You can use helicopters and microlights to do your patrols, to check for carcasses, where there is in a rainforest, obviously with that cloud canopy. It's very, very difficult. Oh, he's having so much fun. Found a little pan. Just blowing bubbles in the water, not really drinking, sort of just playing with the water. Now, up until the early 90s, the Kruger ran elephant culling every year, and they actually had a massive cannery that used to all the meat used to go into, and that ties into what Jamie was asking, that can the meat be eaten? Yes, it was all processed into sort of into cans. You could buy tinned elephant meat, and it was not one iota of that elephant was not used. It was used, all the products were used for different things, and there was actually quite a big business and around the elephant cannery and the elephant culling operations in Kruger, and it employed a lot of people as well. So it's one of those double-edged swords that you talk about. No one really wants to kill an elephant, but and if you look at the sort of larger, the bigger picture, will a few elephants dying to keep the whole population safe? Because if the population's too big, they'll overutilize their resources, and that's that, and then they will all die. Oh, I do love elephants.